What's good, everybody? It's your brother Mad Black, the most dangerous and most toxic black man on the internet, and I am black up in your face again with some more pro black commentary. I want to talk a little bit about the situation here in Nashville, and everyone knows that there was a school shooting here, and 6 people lost their lives based on this weirdo running into a elementary school and shooting indiscriminately at whoever they could find. Okay, and they wounded a lot of people, but 6 of them passed away. So anytime a situation like this comes up, where you have a school shooting, you're always going to have politicians on both sides trying to either, you know, lock down on the guns in this country, and you're going to have the other politicians on the other side trying to make sure their gun rights don't go away. So let me explain a little bit about the politics here in Tennessee. Tennessee, while it's a large state, really only 2 cities bring in a majority of the money, and that's Nashville and Memphis. Okay, and both Memphis and Nashville are kind of liberal in that regard. Okay, Nashville is kind of a little bit more left leaning as a city, and Memphis, everyone knows, is mostly a black city. Okay, so but the state of Tennessee is very Republican, and we have a Republican governor, Bill Lee, and there's a lot of backwards thinking here. Okay, and I see a lot of Confederate flags, those police flags, where it's the American flag, but it's all in black and blue and white. And I see a lot of those Punisher logos. These guys they've modified the Punisher logo to show uh, what type of mess they're on. That's basically become a symbol for white supremacists out here. I see a lot of that, and I like that. I like seeing stuff like that. That lets me know what type of person you are. It's the ones that don't have that on their car or on their jacket that you have to really look out for. The people that let you know what time they're on, that's a good thing. Okay, that lets you know what to watch out for, and I see it all the time. Even in Nashville, even though it's a liberal place, there's still lots of scumbags here. There's this one guy. Well, I'm not even going to get into that. I was about to talk about this one guy's house that I see all the time and some of the nonsense that he puts out on his front lawn, but I'm not going to get into that because then people will be like, "Oh, what you going to do to him?" I'm not. If something happens to him, I don't want to be incriminated or whatever. All right, but I'm just going to say this: some people with some very strong views and they don't mind showing it on their front lawn and on their house. Okay, so anyway, uh, while the governor, he made sure to come out and give his condolences and kind of give the same old talk about how we feel bad and we need to pray for the families, and he even pulled this nonsense out of his butt of how one of the people who was a victim of the shooting was a friend of his wife's. She was my wife's friend, and they was going to have dinner that night, trying to build sympathy for himself off this tragedy. It's like you really don't need to go there. Just I know you're trying to, I guess, make some connection as if we're all connected, but it's almost like he was trying to build sympathy for himself based on the extreme sadness of this tragedy and trying to put that into people's minds for the next election cycle. But he made sure that, to steer the conversation away from gun control. And he didn't even want to mention guns. Okay. He said, we can talk about that stuff later, but right now we just need to pray for these families. And he made sure to steer the conversation away from white supremacy, because we know for the most part, when there's a mass shooting like this and a mass murder like this, it's white folks involved. Doesn't matter. Don't be confused by the fact that they're trans, or they might support more liberal policies, or they might be LGBT. Don't get confused by that. Look at the skin tone and you tell me what it's all about and what types of people usually commit these types of crimes, right? But he made sure to steer the conversation away from that and said, this is not we're not against people here. So he's trying to protect his little redneck base out there who love their guns, and he's also trying to protect white folks. So he says, we're not against people, we're against evil. You see? So he said, we're against evil. When a situation like this comes up, they always try to steer it away and set themselves up in a good position so they're not condemning the ignorant ones in their own community. Now, Negroes, on the other hand, you have black folks on the other hand. When black folks do something, it's all black people's fault. If a black person does something wrong, it's all black people's fault. Very recently there was, all the talk about spring break in Miami Beach and Negroes acting a damn fool. Now, I used to live there. I lived there. I lived in Miami in South Florida for like 10 years. And I spent at least, I would say, like 4 or 5 years on South Beach itself. I lived there. I didn't just, I wasn't just visiting. I actually had 2 apartments there. Okay. And I would always stay inside during Memorial Day weekend and spring break because I just didn't want to deal with any nonsense. And I knew anytime there were going to be masses of black people there, the police were going to be out in full force. Police won't even let you stand still. Okay, that's how ridiculous it is. So already they're causing tension within the whole situation. When white folks are there partying or doing whatever, they're allowed to sit still and have their drinks or just sit and talk with their friends. If you're black on South Beach, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're there, police will come and say, move along, keep on moving. You can't stand here. You can't stand still. Like, you just can't even stand still. So already, the police caused a commotion already with that type of response. And it was standing out there like armed guards at a prison or something like that. But, there's already going to be high tension because of spring break and just how ridiculous some people get. And what's crazy is a lot of people that were there for that spring break don't go to college or anything else. They're just some buffoons there to just act ignorant. And, I can understand if we just kept it that way and say, okay, these are just some idiots in the black community acting like idiots. It's not indicative of all of us. But I saw a whole bunch of, social media and mainstream media of black people talking about, does the black community have a violence problem? Is there a problem in the black community with violence because of these knuckleheads on South Beach? Now, I did a black event not too long ago, maybe like 2 months ago, and I'm doing another black event this weekend. I know there's not going to be any violence this weekend, and I know there's not going to be any violence. There was no violence before. There was nothing but black people there, and everyone got along just fine. Okay, but all the time when you got a few black people acting ignorant, it has to be the narrative for the entire community. And I'm showing you the side by side with how the governor of Tennessee, even though it's mostly white people committing these mass murders and mass shootings, he made sure to steer away from saying, this is a white problem, or this is a white people problem, or this is a conservative problem because we love all the guns and whatnot. You see what I'm saying? He makes sure to steer that away. But with Negroes, if one Negro does something, it's all black people's fault. And somehow it's our community's fault, and we need to have a discussion about the community. Like I saw some program the other day with some Negroes, some old stuffy, bougie Negroes sitting around talking about, is there a violence problem in the black community? Now, I wound up turning it off halfway through because I didn't want to hear any more of their BS. Because even if there is a violence problem, these Negroes weren't talking about any type of meaningful solution. They talked about parenting and going to church. Like, really, Negro, that's why a lot of young people don't listen to you, because you've completely failed in creating anything for them. And then when they actually need some help, your solution is wagging your finger at them and telling them to go to church. Just ridiculousness. So, you folks can let me know how you feel about it in the comments section. Like I said, I'll keep reporting on anything interesting that I see here on this story, this mass shooting. And, I've heard other people make these interesting comments about, they can't. There's no way to stop the crime or stop evil people from doing bad things. But it's always they always say that when there's a white mass shooter or a white person doing something bad, there's no way to stop them. There's nothing that you can do. With black folks, they got all types of solutions for how they deal with us. You see what I'm saying? They create special police units for it to beat up black people. They'll come out and make policies and make sure they pass new laws, and they'll put all types of money and funding into anything that's going to deter or stop black people. But when a white person goes on a shooting spree, they can't do nothing about it. They don't know what to do. You can't stop this from happening all of a sudden. We can only make schools safer or whatever that nonsense means. And like I said, that means nothing because they're not going to actually do anything to fix the problem. Anyway, Mad Black, and I will be back with my foot on these devils' back.